go. Utah State taking on San Diego State here in the Mountain West Championship. 3.5 for San Diego State. 50.5 is an opening total. 3 o'clock now on Saturday. And Dave, you've said it. You've said it time and time again. San Diego State not going to be pretty to watch offensively, but defensively they are no joke here. Utah State's pretty good offensively. Does San Diego State have enough to take them down?
Well, yeah, San Diego State is the better team. There are some negatives on San Diego State. One of them is they lose the yardage on a consistent basis. They've actually been outgained in the majority of their games this year. But I'm not going to say it's by design, but it's just not a big deal. Because San Diego State has a lot of 3-and-outs offensively. They're a very pedestrian offense. But the defense is just rock solid. Utah State's the surprise team in the Mountain West this season. Blake Anderson's done a phenomenal job. I thought they were going to be improved. I think a lot of people thought they would be improved this season. But I don't know anybody, quite frankly, who envisioned them being in the Mountain West Conference title game. So they've overachieved. And I'm not going to be shocked if Utah State wins the game, because San Diego State doesn't dominate many teams, and Utah State maybe still isn't getting the respect they deserve. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think San Diego State is too strong for them. They're going to take away the explosive plays because that's what they do. And the one fault that you find with Utah State is they give up a lot of explosive plays. So even with a very ordinary offense that doesn't take a lot of chances, I'm not going to be surprised if San Diego State doesn't have a few big plays on offense in this game. The Aztecs have to guard against, I guess, being complacent because they know they're the better team. It's in their backyard. I mean, there's just advantages on the San Diego State side. They can't take this for granted because Utah State's a dangerous team. But I think San Diego State's too good for them, and I think the Aztecs eventually win this by a touchdown.
It's similar to Iowa, Dave, like where you're wondering where the points are going to come from from San Diego State, or Utah State. Not that defense, not really an issue here for them.
No, I mean it's not. I mean, if Iowa's playing a bad defensive team, then Iowa will get some points.
Right.
And San Diego State, Utah State's a bad defensive team. They give up a lot of big plays. So San Diego State might have a lot of garbage on offense, but I think they're going to hit a few big plays in this game, and I think that'll ultimately be the difference.
All right, guys, 3 o'clock is that game there. Rob Vino, 6-0 for the Aggies on the road here. What do you think they get done here?
Yeah, and that 3 o'clock is Eastern time, right? I think it's noon Pacific. So it's, San Diego State with a couple of these early starts within the last 3 weeks. It was Boise State last time out, right, where they started early and got themselves the win. Again, power ratings came in on the high side of the favorite, San Diego State at home. Of course, you have to figure home field advantage in 7.5. So it may be a small amount of value still left in San Diego State. What I don't like about Utah State, guys, is the fact that this is a great team offensively between the 20s. Up and down the field, up and down the field, up and down the field. But you go back against these teams that play physical defense in the Mountain West the way San Diego State does, and Utah State's yardage doesn't turn into points. I go way back to the Boise State game where they lost 27-3. They gained 443 total yards. They scored 3 points. That's like 1 point every 147 yards. You're not going to score much doing that. But they couldn't score all day long in Boise State territory, missing field goals, throwing interceptions, fumbling, whatever. They come back the very next week. They play BYU, not a Mountain West team, but again, a pretty physical defense. They only gained 336 yards. They lose that game 34-20. So the explosive offense has put up 3 and 20. Then you go to late in the year when they play Wyoming, again at home. All 3 of these games were in Logan. And Wyoming beats this team 44-17. They only gained 362 yards. So that's 20-17-3 against really physical defenses this year, 40 points in 3 games. That doesn't spell explosive. And when you really break it down, I mean, this team's going over 35 points 4 times in 12 games. And 2 of those 4 were in the first 3 weeks of the year. So it's kind of an illusion that Utah State's created here. Sure, we can move the football. Sure, we can get big plays through the year, but not necessarily that great of a scoring team. 35 points against New Mexico State, not great. 24 UNLV, 26 Colorado State. Would lead me right to San Diego State. But the San Diego State issue is the same issue we've had with them for 15, 20 years. You just don't know if you can win by margin with San Diego State. Last 7 games of the year, their wins, they're 6-1 straight up, right? But those 6 wins are by 6, 6, 2, 7, 8, 11. 2, 4, and 1 against the spread. So, you got issues with margin with San Diego State. You got issues with Utah State even being able to score against this defense in a low-scoring game. Favor could win 24-10. Pretty easy cover. I think that's probably the way that I would lean. But in the 4 games where they were favored, of those 7 I just rattled off, they're 0-3-1 against the spread. Not good. Logan Bonner or Jordan Brookshire, who do you want? San Diego State's had quarterback issues all season long. Looks like Brookshire's playing better now. In the end, I think it just comes down to this simple. Utah State doesn't really score against this type of defense. And San Diego State's run defense is just murderous on teams. If you take out all the sack yardage they've had, they only give up 97 yards a game on the ground. And they rush the quarterback. 36 sacks on the year. The only team in the Mountain West that got more sacks than them was Colorado State, 39. And Colorado State sacked Utah State's Logan Bonner 8 times. I'd be wary of Utah State here. Even though San Diego State has issues with margin, I think that's a side I'd prefer to be on.
All right, that's the way to go. Now, what do you think, Trig, here? You agree with the guys, San Diego State, the way to look for you?
No, I actually disagree. I like Utah State quite a bit here. So a couple reasons. First, San Diego State's one loss this year is to Fresno State. On this field, the second most productive offense in the Mountain West this year was Utah State. So, we're talking about margin. They failed to cover 3 times at home this year. That was against Fresno State, Nevada, and New Mexico State. So Rob mentioned Brookshire's probably going to get the nod as the starting quarterback for San Diego State. And even though he was clearly the better option last week when he came in against Boise State, I have him rated lower than Lucas Johnson. So to me, that's a downgrade at quarterback for San Diego State. And Utah State's pretty good on third down. The way Fresno State beat San Diego State earlier this year was getting ahead early and converting on third down, where they were 9 for 18 in that game, the game that Fresno State beat San Diego State. So, Utah State's good enough offensively where they can score. I think the key here for Utah State will probably be getting a lead, because this San Diego State team is not really built to play from behind. And I think that was the big issue in their loss to Fresno State. I like Logan Bonner, veteran quarterback, so I don't think the moment is going to be too big for him. What it really comes down to, San Diego State's kind of been a fade to me all year. This is a home game for them, but I think that's probably forcing you to lay a premium number with San Diego State now. So at 6, I think there's a lot of value on the Utah State side, and I think their offense is good enough where they can, play a similar game to what Fresno State played on this field earlier this year and stay within the number. And I think they have a pretty good chance to win it outright.
All right, guys, there you go. Both sides of the coin there. Decision is yours.